Okay, Richard, let's talk about LegalZoom. Give me your thoughts on LegalZoom.
LegalZoom has really demonstrated that there's a huge latent market that they really tapped into. It shows that the demand for legal services delivered at an affordable fee. LegalZoom, which started out as really a document preparation service, now has an option where consumers can actually get the legal advice of a lawyer. So their model has become more sophisticated. I wouldn't necessarily be overly critical about LegalZoom. It's really a disruptor in this space, which is really experimenting. There are a lot of sites like LegalZoom. They're small, they're all over the place. My own belief is that a law firm could offer a comparable service at almost the same price point by the proper and appropriate use of technologies to increase law firm productivity. There's no reason why the legal profession should let LegalZoom walk away with doing 1 million wills over the last 3 years. It's really outrageous when you think about it. It's outrageous about it's a comment on the legal profession more so than about LegalZoom itself.
Right. Okay, so Trademarkia. I'm particularly interested in Trademarkia because we perform trademark services at Bedrock, but we actually do a lot more than what you see on a site like Trademarkia or LegalZoom. We provide a lot of counseling and brand strategy to our clients, right? Yeah. So you don't get those in those sites.
That's correct.
Trademarkia is also really hugely successful, and I'm just going to read you their mission statement: to be the world's largest and finest online legal technology platform, empowering individuals, small businesses, law firms, and multinational corporations with the tools to automate, streamline, and simplify processes related to trademarks, corporate registrations, and domain filings. So, what I like about them is they provide a lot of ancillary services for free, like trademark searches that I think, and also trademark watch services that'll notify you if someone potentially infringes your mark by filing an application. Right. And, I think that they use those ancillary services to really sell their products, right?
Right, that's correct. Trademark is also a law firm.
Yes.
It's not a company, it's a hybrid, it's a law firm.
Yeah.
It's an example of what I see disruptors doing in this space, which are interesting law firm / companies emerging in specialty areas, which offer a very narrow service over a very broad scale. Now, in this particular case, Trademarkia uses a team of Indian lawyers who are very well trained in U.S. trademark law. And because they're using this outsourcing strategy, they can keep their price low for the legal advice component. And those Indian lawyers work under the supervision of U.S. lawyers. So they're really the equivalent of paralegals, but otherwise they couldn't give legal advice. The legal advice is actually given by the U.S. lawyers in the United States. So what the entrepreneur, his name is Raj Abhyankar, has done is put together a hybrid, a combination of technology, outsourcing, a national brand, and very interesting unique features where you can actually do a trademark search right on his site easier than you could do at the trademark office itself. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
I do too.
And you will see other kinds of entrepreneurial lawyers doing that kind of thing in immigration and bankruptcy.
Right.
That's how things will begin.
So I think that's great. The everyday person can go online, log in there on Roger's website, Trademarkia, and basically perform a search to check for the availability of their trademark. Where I feel that falls short is the trademark search isn't as comprehensive as, say, a service provider like CompuMark or Core Search, but those services are very, very expensive. It would cost me $700 plus just to order that report for my clients. And then by the time I review that, brick thick report that they send to me, it's going to take a few hours of my time. So the cost exponentially increases. So I think that Raj has started something great. I still think that there's some room for improvement on the search side. Okay, so let's talk about some issues with regards to monetization of legal startups. So providing legal services in and of itself in the United States is a highly regulated industry.
Right.
It's governed by ethical rules of professional responsibility and also by the state bar. So every state has its own set of rules. I like LawGives. My friend Tony Lane, I'm sure you know him. So they essentially have this proprietary algorithm that enables anyone to get hooked up with the lawyer that they are looking for to help them with their problems. And it'll connect people within the online forums and communities. And the second one I really like is Up Counsel by Matthew Faustman, also a friend. And it enables anyone to post a job to a lawyer, and then the lawyers can bid on that job, and then they get paid directly through the website. And I believe Up Counsel takes some kind of fee for the transaction. Do you know about that?
Yeah, they take an administrative fee.
Okay, all right.
Linking the two together, actually the consumer is paying it, maybe the lawyer is paying the marketing fee.
So what are the business models here?
It's structured in a way so it doesn't violate the prohibition about splitting fees with a non-law firm.
Gotcha,
right?
okay.
So one business model for these startups that you talk about are what we call lead generation startups, where they're trying to generate business for law firms through a variety of mechanisms. Law firms can pay a marketing fee. They can't pay a percentage of the legal fee that they get as a result of that, or it's splitting fees with a non-law firm.
Okay. So does that mean that the marketing fee must be a flat fee? How do they calculate
It's a
it?
flat fee.
It's a flat fee, all right.
My own personal, the rule is Rule 7.2b, which says that a lawyer cannot give anything up for value to a non-lawyer for referring a client.
Okay.
And my own view is that that rule is obsolete. It should be done away with.
Yeah.
Because it was done in an early
Sounds very
time.
archaic to me.
It is it's not only archaic, it prevents innovation in this space.
Right.
It's another conversation, but prevents
Yeah.
innovation in the space.
Okay.
So we don't know yet, for example, whether some of these sites can really scale by just taking a very small fee. Because you have to have thousands of transactions for a very small fee in order to get any kind of significant revenue, which will let those new lead generation startup sites survive,
Okay.
right? Because, if the fee is too small, they're not going to make it. Because they'd have to have hundreds of thousands of transactions, but only taking $50 a transaction. Otherwise, you're talking about a very small business. If you have $1 million worth of revenue, you're only getting $50 a transaction. What does that mean? Tens of thousands of transactions to make it happen.
Yes, yeah. So let's talk about the future of legal startups. Where is there a gap in the marketplace for legal startups?
Well, by legal startups, you mean non-law firm legal?
Non-law firm legal, right.
Okay, so there are some interesting things that I see coming down, or have already launched, that I find interesting. There's a startup called Docracy out of New York, where lawyers crowdsource documents into a central web space. They contribute it, and they sometimes there's a degree of automation that lets consumers go into that space and find something that's appropriate. I could see a web startup that has all these other features together. Some of the things that Law Pivot has, which is a social layer Q&A so people can get access to legal advice at a low price, and adding a document component, and adding an evaluation component, social evaluation component, so that consumers can comment on the services that they experience in dealing with that lawyer. Matthew Fassman, I think, has implemented that in Up Counsel, which is really a nice feature. So what all of these startups are doing is figuring out ways to reduce friction. Friction is the barrier between lawyer and client. Somehow make it easier, make it more fluid. So if you look at ways of reducing friction, making things more transparent, those become pathways for non-law firms to create a new ecosystem which make legal services more affordable and more accessible. I don't know what all the forms of that take, but I know that the direction that you go to innovate, the direction for innovation, is reducing friction, increasing transparency, and figuring out strategies to make the pricing more rational. That's another thing that Up Counsel does, because they have like an e-lance approach where they're putting a project out and letting lawyers bid against it. So that rationalizes pricing. Attorneyfee.com is another interesting startup, because what they've done is gone out in the net and they've tried to provide just information to consumers.
Disclosures on what things
Disclosure
cost.
on what things cost,
Yeah.
right? So big data, an attorney fee is like a startup that's really kind of into what I call big data, which is analyzing trends, pricing trends, and making that available to consumers, which eventually can be monetized. For a company like that, you know, a next step might be looking at outcomes, real empirical outcomes. In other words, in a range of law firms in the specialty, let's say trademark firms, let's say trademark here. How successful is trademark here in getting their trademarks accepted by the trademark office? Now, there might be reasons why a trademark was not being accepted,
Yeah.
but if you compared a success rate among a range of trademark firms,
Right.
the consumer would then have a basis for evaluating it. Like, you know, if you go to a surgeon, you want to go to the surgeon that's done 300 brain surgeon operations successfully, right?
Well, sure. I mean, I think that the consumer who's purchasing trademark services might not have their
Yeah,
ultimate goal as getting the registration, but their goal might be, I want to increase the valuation of my product by getting that exclusive right to use the name.
That's right.
Or they
That's
might say, I
That's
want to register trademark because I want to be able to enforce it down the road. So that trademark registration better be really damn good if that
Well, that's the
entrepreneur
whole,
is
right.
going to enforce it down the road.
That's right. It has
They
to
need to
hold.
rely on that, right?
That's right, yeah, it has to